All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Kincardine at 5 o'clock on January 10, 2024 in the council chambers at the Municipal Administration Office. Welcome all of you to this first council meeting of the new year. Councillor Kennedy, please.
Okay, we would like to begin by acknowledging that we are meeting in the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which includes the Chippewas of Nawash Unceded First Nation and the Chippewas of Saugeen First Nation, whose ancestors were the first to inhabit, care for, and live on this land. We recognize and deeply appreciate the contributions that Indigenous peoples have made, both in caring for this land and shaping and strengthening this community, our province, and our country. As a public service organization, we are dedicated to learning and acknowledging Indigenous history and culture, and are committed to actions that move us towards a journey of truth, healing, and reconciliation with the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, the Métis Nation of Ontario, and the historic Saugeen Métis.
Thank you, Councillor. We proceed with roll call. Deputy Mayor Clark.
Present.
Councillor Blackwell.
Present.
Councillor Kavanaugh.
Present.
Councillor Hinchberger.
Present.
Councillor Kennedy.
Present.
Councillor Pranger.
Present.
Councillor Stanoff Gray.
Present.
Councillor Stewart.
Present.
Moving on to the agenda, are there any amendments, additions, or deletions to or from the agenda package? Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, I'd like to add a motion for tonight for sub-consideration. I believe you had the motion already. I do have a copy of it for you. It's the motion for the staff to invite a delegation next month, which would be February, from the Blue Water District Public School Board on the progress of the new high school plans for Kincardine. I'll give this to you. Thank you.
So you've heard the motion. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Pranger. Discussion? Discussion on this? Or is it... Okay, discussion, please. Councillor Stewart.
Thank you, Chair. I thought it'd be fine on this. Sorry, it didn't go on. Through you, Chair. I thought it's time that maybe the public and ourselves sort of have an update on what's going on. There was 2020, I think we got a huge grant of 26 million. And I'm not really hearing a lot. I'm hearing through third parties. I think we haven't seen a delegation from the Blue Water for a long time. So I think it'd be valuable to us, the councillors, and also the public to hear back from them. Because, you know, sooner or later, they're going to plan this school, and it does have a huge impact on us because we have to bring all the services to the table. So I think it would be appropriate time for them to come and talk to us and have a delegation. Thank you.
So the debate is centered more on whether it gets added to the agenda or not. The the validity of the necessity for a school is not the issue at this point. It's just, do we add it to the agenda or not? All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? And that was carried. I'd remind any councillors to disclose a pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof, either now or as it arises during the meeting. We have the motion, need a mover and seconder that the minutes of the council meetings held December 6, December 13, and December 18 be adopted as printed. Mover and seconder, Councillor Hinchberger and Stanoff Gray. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Yes. And that's carried. And we move on to our delegations and presentations. And we are pleased to have 4 presentations tonight, and the front end of the delegations is did I get out of that one okay? David Woodward, who is presenting an information session on front end or cost sharing agreements. Mr. Woodward, thanks for being here tonight, and you have the floor.
All right, thank you very much through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to council. and also to municipal staff for giving me the opportunity to present to you on this. I'm going to share my screen as part of my presentation, and hopefully you don't have any issues seeing it. I'm going to just bring it up now. Can you all see that?
No, we cannot see that.
Oh, okay. Just a moment. Hold on. Thank you. Does that help?
No, it does not help.
Okay.
We all do, David, we all have a copy of your presentation in front of us.
Oh, okay. Okay. Just a
Our,
second.
our tech team is going to bring the screen up. Here it comes now.
Okay.
So we have the screen indicating front end or cost sharing agreements.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Okay. First of all, I'd just like to introduce myself to council. It's the first time I've appeared before council for Kincardine. I'm a municipal lawyer. I've practiced for 33 years at Learners in London, Ontario. And I'm a certified specialist in the area of municipal law, local government, certified by the Law Society of Ontario. And of course, my topic for today is this front-end or cost-sharing agreements. Front-ending or cost-sharing agreements, it's a tool that can be used by municipalities with landowners, developers, to encourage development, encourage efficient development, and hopefully lower costs of development in particular what I'll call service areas. Just going to provide you with I'll call it a cursory definition here. I'm just moved to the next slide. Basically, front-ending or cost-sharing agreements, the parties to the agreements are usually a municipality and one or more owners of land within a certain area of development. I'll call it the service area. And those agreements are designed to complete partner with the owners to complete services such as roads, municipal services, generally infrastructure, intersection work, other similar work. I'm going to refer to them as the work costs. And that agreement defines how those costs are allocated at first instance, and that's an important point, at first instance between the municipality and the owners. Okay. Just next slide. The slide starting, when are these agreements appropriate? Again, they're often used in a situation where developments are, I will call it, imminent or fully anticipated to occur in the near future. So if you have an area that's not yet serviced or underserviced, but there looks to be imminent development, either landowners are making lots of inquiries along the corridor, or alternatively, it's clear that this is a growth area for your municipality, then this tool can often be used to allow for efficient servicing and ultimately help develop the area on a cost-efficient basis. These agreements, they're intended to initially share the costs as between the parties to the agreement, whoever the owners are that are developing, and the municipality. And that initial cost share is defined in the agreement, but it's intended that that other owners in the corridor, in the service area, they'll contribute to those costs when they develop their lands. Okay. And these agreements are authorized by the Development Charges Act, and even outside of the Development Charges Act, it is possible to enter into a cost-sharing agreement, but there is less means to compel other owners to contribute. Okay. Now I'm just going to talk about. I won't go to the next slide yet, but I just want to just outline the types of things that are in these agreements. Again, the parties are usually a municipality and the owners of the lands in the service corridor. Obviously, it defines the work that's going to be done. It estimates the costs. It obviously defines the service area. It sets out the proportion of the costs, both initial costs, or I should say both estimated costs and any cost overruns. It talks about the method under which the other landowners in the service area will contribute to the cost. And it also sets out things like the collection method from how the developer pays its share, how the municipality pays its share, and how the future owners might pay their share. Okay.
Just to interject here, Mr. Woodward, you have only a couple of minutes left in your window for the delegation. So if there's
Okay.
a
Yeah.
point we'd like to get to, that would be.
Thank you very much. Okay. So again, the present contributors are the initial are the municipality and the parties to the agreement. The next contributors will be the future owners. Why do we enter into these agreements? Well, efficiencies, the work costs will be less overall if the infrastructure is completed in one fell swoop or a minimum number of construction projects. It provides nearby landowners with an easier path to development, and that facilitates assessment growth, and there's less disruption due to construction. For these agreements, normally there's two types. The developer can lead the agreement and manage the project, or the municipality can. I'm just going to switch to the next slide on developer-led agreements. These, the developer awards the contract and manages the project. The municipality normally just writes its check towards the work costs, and the developer, again, usually upsizes the services to allow for future development. The risks for the developer-led agreements, just go to that slide. Developer default is a possibility. There's possible liens if there's financial default. Projects run by private enterprise are less likely to be managed in the public interest. And with all these agreements, future development in the affected area may not happen, in which case the developer and the municipality may not recover their costs from other landowners. The benefits, of course, of the developer land lead agreements, I've just gone to that slide. As a general rule, we don't recommend them, but there is much less staff time and effort. For just the next slide, for the municipally led agreements, municipality is the lead and manages the project, and the developer remits its share of the work costs up front, usually either upfront or by a letter of credit. And then the benefits, the public interest is generally a primary consideration, little to no chance of default, and less chance of problems due to financial issues. And the risk, of course, is perhaps it's possible that the future development will not occur. The municipality will be directly liable for all work costs, including claims from the project. And there's always the risk of developer default, but that's minimized with a well-drafted agreement or with payment up front. And just the last few slides, how are costs allocated? Again, up front in the agreement, it's allocated between the participating parties, the municipality and the developer. And then in the future, for future development, for parties who are not party to the agreement but are in the service area, those people are brought in. And the upfront costs are ultimately reimbursed to the developer and or the municipality. And just my last slide, payment arrangements. Again, for the municipal lead agreements, normally the other parties pay their fair share, or their share, I should say, of the work costs upfront or secured by a letter of credit. And the developer-led agreements, of course, the municipality provides its ordinary covenant and remits payment in the ordinary course. And cost overruns and costs are shared normally proportionally up front. So that concludes my presentation. I'm just happy to take any questions if there are any, or if there's time. Hopefully I didn't run too much over my allotted time.
Any questions from council for Mr. Woodward? Councillor Steinhoff, Gray, please.
Actually, I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. It was really informative, and I don't have any questions because it was so informative. Thank you.
Thank you.
So actually, I do have one, and I'll direct this to our Director of Infrastructure and Development. And I'm wondering if you are able to share with us where our municipality has used this tool, either a front end or developer-led agreement, but just to give us an example of where it's existing in our municipality at this point.
Thanks, and through you, Mayor Craig. So if we go back just to the tail end of last year, the agreement that was presented to council for Mount Forest reconstruction for Mount Forest Ave, there's a developer agreement there that we have with two parties. So the municipality's front-ending those construction costs, and we're recuperating those costs from those two developers for their share of their contribution for their benefit. Another that council will see in the first quarter of this year relates to the Kincardine Ave servicing extension as well. So those are both front-ending initiatives. Other similarities to front-ending, but not directly the same, is we front-ended costs for the two ASDCs that we did for 9 and 21 in the Gary Street development. So a little different model, but it's still a front-ended approach where we undertook the construction and absorbed the cost up front.
You said you had no questions, but Councillor Steinhoff, Gray, please.
Just because you mentioned the Gary Street one and Kincardine Ave, I'm just curious, are we still carrying some of those costs for the Gary Street one? Because that's where I think the risks come in. So where have we realized the risks, and how much risk do we have with Kincardine Ave?
Through you, Mayor Craig. Yeah, absolutely. The 9 and 21 and the Gary Street developments, those are set up as area-specific development charges. So as each of those come forward with building permits, we would start collecting on those DCs at those sites. I think everyone's familiar enough with both sites to understand what construction has or hasn't happened at those. So we're carrying the burden at those sites at this point. So to answer your question, Kincardine Ave, if you were to enter a similar approach, even if it was through a front-ending agreement, you have to, I guess, comfort yourself in whatever you're comfortable with in terms of a crystal ball approach and what development may or may not happen.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I'm not hugely into crystal balls. I think everyone who knows me knows I'm like that. But I guess my question would be with Kincardine Ave, because even when I was looking at the budget document, it seemed like we were front loading a little more than I expected. How much of that project in a percentage, high level, I won't hold you to it, just roughly, would we be waiting on for those development charges to come in at a later date?
Through you, Mayor Craig. So Kincardine Ave, I don't think you'll see a suggestion. Still have to finalize an approach with both Dave and then staff internally. But I don't think you'll see an approach where it would be an area-specific development charge. Rather, it would be the front-ending agreement. And the difference between the two is that with an ASDC, if things change, you have to actually go through an amendment to that bylaw related to the DC. And there's public consultation and there's a process involved in that. Whereas if you set it through a front-ending agreement, you have a little more flexibility in that regard. back to, back to what does that look like though? I would say based on the lands that have been identified as beneficiaries, we have a third of those that are ready for development now, a third that are actively working on development proposals, and a third of them that are sitting and using it for other purposes, such as agriculture, and don't have intent to develop. So I would say about a third of it is high risk in terms of recuperation. A third is medium risk, and the other third is imminent in terms of being able to collect on. And again, that's hypothetical. We still have to work towards getting an agreement prepared.
So the terminology might not just be necessarily high risk, it's just longer term. Okay, Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you, through you. Thanks, Adam, for explaining that to us. And I agree, these things would be better than what we did in the past with the, ASDCs. Because we took all the risk and we're still taking the risk. I like this because at least you're getting the developers fairly quickly in picture. At least you got one or two that are gonna come on side. So it'll be interesting to see how these things develop, but good luck. Thanks.
Mr. Woodward, you sparked more conversation than you thought perhaps, so. Anyway, we do appreciate you being here. Maybe if he's here or not, maybe frozen. Okay, we'll move on to our next delegation, and I'd like to welcome Nancy Mickey from representing the Bruce Energy Center. Council had received the presentation from Ms. Mickey before, and we'll hear her presentation for now. And Nicole will come and get the tech stuff figured out.
Thank you, Mayor Craig, council and staff. My name is Nancy Mickey and I'm the agent for the Bruce Energy Center. And I also have in attendance with me tonight, Stephen Cobine, and he's with Cobide Engineering. And his office is located in Hanover. The Bruce Energy Center hereby requests that the council of the municipality of Kincardine give consideration for an extension of potable water to provide potable water for the occupants and owners of lands located at the Bruce Energy Center Industrial Park and 1554 Bruce Road 23, which will provide potable water for the current commercial and industrial users and future commercial and industrial users. We are aware that individual wells for potable water can be drilled for each lot for development. However, we feel that would not be the best option for the environment and the aquifer when potable water connection is located so close to the site. Therefore, we have researched the proposal and followed the process, and here we are today before council for your consideration. We hereby ask the council of the municipality of Kincardine to review our proposal and give consideration for approval. We thank you for your time and consideration for the proposal that will provide a valuable service to the owners and occupants and staff at the Bruce Energy Center Industrial Park and 1554 Bruce Road 23. Potable water will be a valuable asset to attract future developers to the site and the area within the municipality of Kincardine. And we are available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mickey. We appreciate the presentation. As I said, council had received that report and was familiar with the broad picture. Any questions from council members? Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Thank you very much for your presentation. This one's a tough one on me. It really is, because it looks like all that vacant property that you presently own would benefit from this. So my question, and maybe it's inappropriate at the time, is, this one seems to be one of these front end loading or maybe a developer lead agreement. Would you be prepared to pay for the water and we would pay you back through development fees?
Through you, Mayor Craig.
If I might, I appreciate that question. That is a very logical question. If I might be so bold, the answer to that question might be more appropriately answered by referring this to staff for a different sort of municipally directed perspective on it, to offer us some options. This is one option. We could do it this way, or we can do it that way. And though the question needs to be answered, best not to do it around the council table. So if, Councillor Stewart, would you be willing to have a motion direct staff to bring a report of some sort regarding this? Is that
Oh, absolutely.
Is
Through
that
the
not-
chair.
is
If
that
this
not-
is what we're hoping to do, then great. I mean, is Adam, or is this what you're planning to do? Bring it back an option for us to take a look at?
Through you, Mayor Craig, I think that's probably the best approach for council. We can share with you information both from staff side and our engineers as well in terms of, potential feasibility, risk, all that kind of stuff. So.
Councillor Stanoff Gray, please? Councillor Stanoff Gray, where you go?
The only thing I was gonna say is from a report perspective, because I know with the other agreement we entered into, they were providing, how do I say this? They were helping fund the capacity that was required. So I'd like to understand what the impact is from that perspective, not just how we're gonna pay it. That was my only thing.
Yep, once again, part of the staff report. Councillor Hinchberger, please?
Yes, thank you through you, Mayor. I guess to help set the parameters for a staff report, I think that this should be a multidisciplinary report that involves infrastructure and development and economic development, because there is a benefit to cost perspective to this as well. And I think I'd also like to see this report look at specific options, because I don't necessarily think that the only option is to supply from the Kincardine drinking water system. As an example, just as hypothetically, that there is talk that because of growth in Tiverton, that we may connect Tiverton to the Kincardine drinking water system. At that point, we've expended a lot of capital into the Tiverton drinking water system, Briar Hill and Dent Wells. And I'd like that one other option could be, if we're no longer using that capacity for Tiverton, it could be used to supply elsewhere. And so I just want to make sure that the report, multidisciplinary, economic development and infrastructure and development, and it's also looking at the possibility, other options to say supply that area with water, and not just the one that has been proposed connecting into the Kincardine drinking water system. Thanks.
Councillor Stewart, please?
Thank you. Through you, Chair, and Councillor Hitchberger made a good point, and I think it's great that, you sometimes can turn unpotable water into potable water through a process. Reverse, I forgot the name. Sorry? Reverse osmosis or even infrared. So maybe you're absolutely right. Let's take a look at all the options versus just connecting to Kincardine. Thank you.
So, do we need a motion for a direction to staff? Councillor Stewart, could you condense that into like 12 words? So I heard that, I think staff has kind of heard the broad intent. Perhaps we need a motion to direct staff to bring a water supply report. Options, to supply, yes, I'm asking you if. So the intent is to bring back a report from staff regarding the provision of potable water to the Bruce Energy Center from a multidisciplinary perspective and full usage of our municipal assets. The seconder for that motion, is there any more discussion about that? All in favor? Rory did.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nancy. We appreciate it. All right, so now I'd like to invite Brooke McLean, Director of Library Services, to come to the mic. Thank you, Ms. McLean. We also received your library report and got more this evening at our table. So we look forward to hearing from you this evening.
Thank you very much, Mayor and members of council and staff. I'm Brooke McLean. I'm the director for the Bruce County Public Library, and with me is Michaela Postumus. She is the supervisor for the Kincardine and Tiverton branches. As you know, we have those two branches in the municipality of Kincardine. They make up 2 of the 17 branches that comprise the Bruce County Public Library system. Next slide, please. We know that individuals who are more engaged and connected to their communities have better outcomes. Bruce County Public Library drives social engagement through our welcoming community spaces, programming for all ages, and a wide variety of services. Libraries are possibly the last free public space where anyone is welcome without expectation of something in return. So I have our numbers for 2022. We haven't quite got them updated with our 2023 final count. But in 2022, we circulated nearly 500,000 items and welcomed almost 1,700 people, provided almost 1,700 programs to nearly 22,000 participants in Bruce County. So our library branches are quite busy. And I also wanted to highlight that we have launched our bookmobile. And of course, you already know this because this building is actually one of our stops on the route. So the bookmobile is traveling throughout Bruce County to bring internet, library services, and social connection, as well as technology and high-speed Wi-Fi throughout all areas of the county. We do have a couple of months of data now, and it indicates it is operating at the same level of some of our smaller branches, such as Cargill and Tiverton. So that's really good news for the bookmobile. Our libraries are often the first place that people visit when they relocate to a community. So we engaged with our partners to gather relevant information and put together new resident packages. These are unique to each municipality and available at every library branch. We launched seed libraries last spring. Every municipality has one in one of their branches. These seed libraries allow individuals to take up to 5 packages of seeds to grow. And we have implemented a number of garden-related programs and have a number of resources to support gardening as well. Here, the seed library is in the Kincardine branch. I wanted to quickly highlight some of our databases. Canopy allows cardholders to stream over 30,000 movies, documentaries, and great courses, and also offers Canopy Kids curated programming for children. Next slide. So Press Reader provides access to reliable and accurate reporting. It offers unlimited access to over 7,000 newspapers and magazines in 75 languages. And then LinkedIn Learning gives library patrons access to over 16,000 free relevant courses led by experienced instructors that teach in-demand skills in a user-friendly online platform. Courses cover the range of business, technology, and creative industries and include things like small business marketing, SharePoint and Excel, animation, and photography. And of course, all these databases and many, many more are free with a Bruce County Public Library card. So we have a number of items that are available to borrow that you might not think of when you think about libraries. We offer things like light therapy lamps that are very popular this time of year when we have very limited sunshine. And of course, our ukuleles, museum and park passes, memory care kits, and dozens of other items. And I'm going to invite Michaela to speak directly about the Kincardine and Tiverton branches.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Our Kincardine and Tiverton branches have 3,700 active library users who borrowed over 64,000 items last year. We engage with people across our diverse community, providing valuable programs, resources, and connection. In 2023, our popular Community Volunteer Income Tax Program assisted 75 individuals with simple income situations in completing their tax returns. During National Indigenous History Month in June, the Kincardine branch hosted a display of 10 quilts that honored residential school survivors. We connect with our community at events like the Kincardine Seniors Forum, our Multicultural Festival, Kincardine Pride, and the Afro-Caribbean Youth Awards. Next slide, please. In 2023, Kincardine and Tiverton branches provided 244 programs to 2,231 participants. Programs included special author visits, seed and plant swaps, a kids gardening club, and opportunities to connect with library tech, such as our 3D printer and our Cricut machine. And next slide, summer reading. The 2023 Summer Reading Club was an outstanding success with an overall 20% increase in the number of participants and a nearly 30% increase in minutes read across Bruce County Public Library. In the municipality of Kincardine, 78 registered kids read 60,000 minutes. We were particularly proud of the young powerhouse readers at our Tiverton branch, who were small but mighty in numbers and who made Tiverton one of the top branches this year in total minutes logged. Summer Reading Club success.
We are happy, of course, to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you so much, Ms. McLean. Any questions from council members? Councillor Hinchberger, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation tonight. Very polished. You might think maybe you've delivered it a few times. Does the county library accept media donations of any type? Like,
If it aligns with our collection policy and if we have need for it in the collection, we evaluate on a case-by-case basis.
and the collection policy would be available on the website?
It absolutely is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you. Through you, last summer, I was reading a book called Palaces for the People, which was a fantastic book all about history of libraries and how important they are for communities and community development. And so I was honestly a little bit surprised the number for cardholders is, I mean, it's a great number, but you know, we have a population of around 12,000. I'd love to see everyone have a library card and to be able to use so much, because there is so much more than just what's even at the physical library. My son and I have often used the non-traditional collection for things like passes to the park or provincial parks or the parachute, other things that are available. So it's a wonderful service. I'm so proud and pleased that we have one.
All right. Thank you so much for your presentation this evening. We look forward to seeing Councillor Blackwell in the library tomorrow morning, bright and early, I suspect.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Final delegation for this evening is from the Kincardine Police Services Board. I acknowledge Councillor Kavanaugh, who is our council representative on that board. And we have with us this evening Stelina Williams and Sandy Donald, and also there's Inspector Keegan Wilcox and Kaylee. Sorry, I don't know the title that goes with Kaylee. That's how you were introduced. So Sandy, welcome this evening. Stelina, good to have you here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'll be 2 seconds and then I'm going to pass on to Stelina, and I was just going to interrupt, say this is Stelina Williams, our provincial representative of the Police Services Board. Rory, you all know, he's the council representative. Inspector Wilcox, our new inspector, and Kaylee Ferguson, our school resource officer. And with that, I'll pass over to Stelina.
Thank you. I'm going to try and advance the slides on my own. We'll see how that goes. Yeah. So on behalf of the board, I would like to thank you for your ongoing commitment to supporting the position of school resource officer, Kaylee, who you've been introduced to today, which is really the focus of our presentation today. In your presentation package, a detailed overview of the role that the SRO provides was included, which includes all the great work and all the deliverables that have been achieved over the past several years. We're not going to go through the deck again in detail today, but as just a quick refresher, the SRO is a single point of contact, and I'll go through it quickly, partially funded by the municipality, serving over 2,600 students. She is proactive in leading important safety presentations in our schools, responsive to the school's emergent needs, works with our community partners to support the well-being of our children, is a champion for our children in the community, and is a trusted, reliable resource for students and teachers. The outputs and the details provided in your presentation are really important because it's important that you see your value for money. But what's more important is that as a valuable public service, the effectiveness of a program is well understood. As you can appreciate, it is difficult to measure. But we can stand here today and tell you about why this public service is an investment that matters. It matters to students, to schools, to the ratepayers, to the community, and to each of you. It matters because they matter. It matters because that one day that the SRO was in the school, her presence alone may have stopped a child from being bullied, beaten, or harassed because of the clothes they were wearing or because they looked a little different. It matters because her intervention in a troubled youth call may have resulted in a diversion and may have made a child feel that they were worth a little bit more and maybe try a little harder because they felt like someone finally believed in them. It matters because seeing an officer at school often enough and developing a relationship with her may have made a child feel safe enough to approach her and tell her that they were being abused at home and maybe even saved their life and the life of their siblings. It matters because a child may have not become a victim of a kidnapping because of a presentation on personal safety, and they knew what to do when someone pulled up to them while walking home from school. It matters because a mental health call from the school to the SRO may have connected a student to the community resources they needed and prevented them from taking their own life. It matters because the cyberbullying of a child may have been stopped because a child felt safe enough to approach the officer about what was happening and action was taken to protect that child. It matters because a presentation about the dangers of the internet and social media may have meant a child didn't fall victim to an online predator or to human trafficking. It matters because a presentation on drugs and drug use may have prevented a child from overdosing. I know that these are all May statements, but they are also the reason this position matters so much to all of us and why we are so grateful for your commitment. And that is why we stand here today, because we can talk about all the things we are doing to keep our children safe by being proactive and responsive, instead of standing here talking about all the things we should have done differently if, God forbid, a child's life had ended. So before we open it up to questions and discussion, I will just leave you with one thought. In Sault Ste. Marie last fall, there was a horrific incident of intimate partner violence. A man shot and killed his wife. He shot his ex-wife. He shot and killed his 3 school-aged children before killing himself. In a statement that the police chief said after the incident, and I do paraphrase, he had talked about how addressing the issue of intimate partner violence requires a community solution. And that we need to be in the schools educating children young, teaching tolerance, and building the networks of support early. And I thought to myself how proud I was to live in a community that already knew the importance of an approach like this through our commitment to an SRO. Someone that can bring together a network of resources to educate, inform, and save lives. So thank you for your commitment to the community and to the safety and security of our children. And we're happy to talk about any questions you have.
Questions from council? Councillor Kavanaugh, any additional?
Thank you, through the chair. The biggest thing that I would like to ask is actually through you to the SRO herself, and that was just a question of if there was a chance you could share any experience or anything that you've actually had, because it's easy to look at the slides and see the calls for mental health or the calls for other service, but to hear it directly, I think it would have a bigger impact. So if you don't mind, do you have something you could share with the council? Thank you.
Sure. In the role as a school resource officer, it's a kind of an opportunity where I do get to have a more proactive role, where students can engage with me in creating those positive relationships. There might be incidents that occur on school breaks, on weekends and evenings, and then I might be the police officer that they see in the school, the following day after the incident. So to be able to connect with those kids, for them to see me as Officer Jackson, to make the connection that police might have been in their home, the previous night, but we're still there to support them, that, they're able to come up to me and that we can still have a relationship as Officer Jackson and themselves, and not just the incident that may have occurred in their house at that one specific time. And then to continuously see those kids in the community and to engage with them, to check in with them, to know that they're recognizing me, that they're feeling comfortable to engage with me. That's kind of one of the key roles, whether I'm in my uniform or out of my uniform, to see these kids, that they recognize me, they come up to me, they want to engage with me, and to see that they're practicing, what I'm trying to teach them.
Any other questions from council? Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you. And through you, the SRO officer, I don't have any kids going to high school. I haven't been to Kincardine High School for a while. Just a curiosity, do you wear a full uniform every day?
I do, yeah.
You do, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
correct me if I'm offering incorrect information. It's my understanding, and I appreciated Stelina's presentation and the comment regarding mental health at high school too. Does Kincardine has a mental wellness officer that is part of the police team?
We do. We have a mobile crisis response team nurse, an RN, that is on patrol with officers.
Yep.
And that oftentimes can become a point of engagement with me in the schools, just checking up on children, engaging our MCERT nurse with the kids, with the schools, and providing additional resources and supports that might be slipping through either through the family, through the school, and just what we can provide and make those connections.
So that was kind of my question, though we at this point support a school resource officer, there is, you know, the additional opportunity to access specialized, little slightly more specialized care than just the resource officer yourself.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Further questions? Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you. Through you, over the past couple of years, this has been kind of a challenging position across the province in many places. One of the things that's come out of Thames Valley, which recently had a report come forward, as well as Wellington, was the need for youth to be engaged in helping to potentially direct this kind of a program. Has there been thought at all, and this is kind of a broader conversation perhaps for the Police Services Board, as to whether there's been thought given to having a youth council or a youth advisory group help to shape the program? And just another thing I guess I would say is a school resource officer may be a bit of a misnomer for what the program is. When there's been reviews of these programs, a lot of what they've said is, no, they need to be more community-based and youth-focused broadly, which is in general how I've seen this program shifting. So, I don't know if I'm going off. Anyways, I was just wondering about how often or how well youth are engaged within this program in terms of having a role in how it's directed.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, that's a great question. Youth involvement in these types of programs is absolutely essential. Right now, the way that our current school resource officer program does not have that piece built into it. But the OPP is doing a review of our school resource officer program provincially, and they've engaged with a doctor out of the University of Waterloo who is completing an evidence-based research to say what the school resource officer program should look like at a provincial level, and it may include some of those facets.
Okay, thank you so much to the Police Services Board under Sandy's leadership. I do appreciate your.
Before you close this, Ken, we welcome any members of the council or staff to attend the Police Services Board meeting. We can have a very, very good forum there should they need to bring up things. We have members of the public ongoing coming to it, so you're very welcome to come on up and see us.
Once again, thank you so much for your presentation, and we look forward to continuing our engagement with the OPP, no matter what it looks like in coming days. So, all right. Moving on to staff reports, we have an engineering request for proposal. We need a mover and seconder that council award the engineering services contracts to BM Ross and Associates and GM Blue Plan Engineering Limited as detailed in report OP 2024-01. Mover and seconded by Councillor Hinchberger and Deputy Mayor Clark. Discussion, please. Councillor Stewart.
Thank you. Through you. Good job. It was great to see there's lots of people. You sent it out to a lot and you got 6, which is great to hear. And then it sounded like you had quite a matrix to figure out which one was first, which one was second and third. I really, really like the idea that we have 2 now on thing. I really like the idea also that you got these guys doing some of the master plans, the GM Blue plan, and then someone does the work, which I think is good in the future. Where's GM Blue Plan offices? I'm not sure where they are. And the second question is, I hate to say it, but do we have an early termination clause built into the agreement? Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Craig. So GM Blue Plan, from a local perspective, has offices situated out of both Listowel and Owen Sound. It's the Owen Sound office that we'd be dealing with from a project management perspective. They also have resources throughout the province as well. So, and in terms of an early termination, under the termination section, there's three different methods or opportunities to deal with concerns or issues. One is at default, so if they're at default of the agreement. Another is if they've been suspended under the agreement for any particular reason. And then the other is that we can terminate at convenience, so at the discretion of the municipality and the only one that has any type of time frame tied to it is the suspension one. And that's based on the vendor being under suspension for a period of 30 days, then either party can look to terminate.
Perfect. Thank you, Adam.
Councillor Steinhoff Gray, please.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I fully acknowledge that I've been a broken record about getting additional bids on this particular contract area. And I'm actually unbelievably happy with how you've split it up so that you don't have people planning the work and executing the work, like wearing the PM hat as well as doing the engineering behind it. I really like the segregation that you've introduced and I appreciate it. And I was really excited that we had 6 bids. And I think that this shows that we're engaged in working with credible vendors. And I also don't know if you saw, but I saw that GM Blue Plan recently merged with the GEI Consultants, and they've got an international presence in a lot of areas. So I was actually really excited when I saw that when I started investigating them. So thank you.
So I have a motion on the floor to award the engineering contracts to BM Ross and GM Blue Plan Engineering. All in favor? And that's carried. The Vander Veeken Mutual Agreement Drain, we need a mover and seconder that council accepts the mutual agreement drain report as provided and pass a bylaw to authorize the agreement. Moved by Councillors Kavanaugh and Blackwell. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Heritage Kincardine terms of reference update. We need a mover and seconder that council pass a bylaw to approve the updated terms of reference for Heritage Kincardine, and further that council appoint a member to sit as a council member and chair on Heritage Kincardine. Moved by Councillors Stewart and Steinhoff Gray. We'll start with, are there any questions about the updated terms of reference? The value of them? Secondly, are there any council members who would offer to sit on this committee as the council member and subsequent chair on Heritage Kincardine? Councillor Stewart, please.
That a volunteer, maybe you can describe, or the clerk can describe the commitment here, please.
Good question.
Through you, Mayor. The Heritage Kincardine meets once a month. And I'm sure that right now, I believe they meet at 5 o'clock once a month. And I'm sure they'd be open to talking about a change in date if a member needed to work with them. But that's the commitment right now.
Are there any further volunteers for the council position and chair of the Heritage Committee? Okay, so we have a mover and seconder. The council passed the bylaw to approve the updated terms of reference, and we appoint Councillor Hinchberger to sit as council member and chair. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Mike. Any opposed?
Well, I guess I didn't put my hand up then.
Matters for decision, 7.1 notice of motion prior at the meeting. There was none of those. Motion 7.3, need a mover and seconder that the Chief Administrative Officer, Jeline Belchamber Glazier, be appointed acting clerk when it's necessary for the clerk to leave the meeting for the purpose of taking minutes for the January 10, 2024 closed and open meetings. Moved by Councillors Hinchberger and Pranger. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. The additional motion that was introduced by Councillor Stewart We need a mover and seconder that staff invite a delegation next month from the Blue Water District School Board on the progress of the new high school plans for Kincardine, moved by councillors Stewart and Prenger. Discussion. Councillor Hinchberger.
Thank you through you, Mayor. I mean, we had a number of presentations that were arranged for us as terms of community groups and ones that would be involved with, that are stakeholders in what we do, and we're stakeholders in what they do. And to me, this just seems like a natural continuation of the program to extend an invitation so that they can better understand us, we can better understand them, and I intend to vote in favor of the motion.
Further discussion? Councillor Prenger, please.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I concur with Councillor Hinchberger's statement there, as well as just pointing out it's been a while since we've heard anything about this, and other community group members have pointed that out and requested that the school board provide an update as well. So I think it'd be natural progression for them to come and give us an update.
So just as a caution, as the wording of the motion says, we invite, but that doesn't mean they'll come. That's just an invite offering the opportunity to come. So
We could compel them to come in.
couldn't compel them to come anyway. All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? That's carried. Consideration of bylaws, interim taxation bylaw. We need a mover and seconder that the 2024 interim taxation bylaw be deemed to be read first, second, third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw 2024-01. Councillors Stewart and Steinoff Gray. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Current operating borrowing bylaw, need a mover and seconder that the current operating borrowing bylaw be deemed to be read a first, second, third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw number 2024-02. Councillors Kennedy and Kavanaugh. Appointment bylaw enforcement officers from municipal support. Oh, all in favor of the current operating bylaw? Just about missed that. Appoint bylaw enforcement officers from municipal support services. Need a mover and seconder that the appointment bylaw enforcement Municipal Support Services, Inc., 2024 bylaw be deemed to be read first, second, third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw number 2024-03, moved by councillors Deputy Mayor Clark and Kavanaugh. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Amend code of conduct for members, local boards and committee members. And that was to switch the integrity principles. Need a mover and seconder that the amend code of conduct for members of council, local board and committee members policy bylaw to be deemed to be read first, second, third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw number 2024-04. Councillors Blackwell and Deputy Mayor Clark, all in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Award engineering services contracts, medium mover and seconder that the award engineering services contracts 2024 bylaw be deemed to be read first, second, third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw number 2024-05. Councillors Steinoff, Gray and Stewart. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. And the motion to pass bylaws need a mover and seconder that the following bylaws are hereby read first, second, third time, finally passed today, January 10, 2024, and they are the Vander Veeken Drain Agreement and the Heritage Kincardine Terms of Reference bylaw. Did we do a mover and seconder? Moved and seconded by Kavanaugh and Hinchberger. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. So there's the number of items listed on the consent agenda. They are considered routine and enacted in one motion as a matter arising, with the exception of any items that are asked to be withdrawn by council members for further comment or direction to staff for following meeting. Councillor Steinoff Gray, please.
Sorry, through you, Chair, it would be 8.1 Bravo, the Environmental Services Compliance Report. if we could talk about it briefly now, that would be great. Did I say the wrong one?
Bravo, bravo.
Bravo, bravo, sorry.
Do you have a specific question
Yeah.
that you have?
I did have a specific question. I was just curious, and this would be a question for Mark. I noticed a couple of things, and one of the things that it made me think about was, I know with the raw turbidity, it talked about how we had replaced the filters and then decided to adjust the back flushing, like some settings, there's some backwashing settings. And there was some other ones with the performance where there was a calculation error for the SCADA program that they were sorting out, or not calculation error, but an error with the software. There's a couple little things to me sound like something that you would capture in a corrective action program. And, you know, even with the walk down where there was the possibility of groundwater getting in because of the state of, I think it was hinges. I can't remember exactly when I went through, but these all seem like things that would go into a corrective action group. And I was curious if we had like a standing PM program where we could log deficiencies and match it. So all of these things just, I understand like there was at least 3 or 4 of them, and it just made me ask, how do we manage this?
Through you, Mayor Craig. So from a drinking water perspective, the municipality is required to maintain the drinking water quality management system. Through that module, there's several modules, but the module that sticks out is SLD 21, which is continual improvements. So the municipality continues to strive and make improvements for things like that. Those are also captured in both internal audits, which are often completed by our own staff, but we also have external audits on an annual basis, and then there's re-accreditation. So for the specific issues highlighted in the compliance report tonight, we have started to implement some changes. The filter effluent was a combination of things, including an extreme weather event, which then led to higher turbidity out of the effluent filters. Through that process, it was determined that the SCADA was functioning properly, but parameters weren't at previous limits from the upgrade, which triggered multiple backwashes. Because of high turbidity, the multiple backwashes filled a tank, which then made it harder to produce or even discharge backwash water. So we are making continual improvements. The reservoir is highlighted in the 2024 capital budget as an opportunity to look at some waterproofing and would be probably the highest priority within the department. So we are looking at corrective action there as well.
Follow up?
Yeah, thank you for that. It's good to know. But I guess some of the things, like when I looked at the Bruce Telecom example where we lost communication with the Scott location, it's such antiquated equipment that we can't even get it. So we're basically waiting. I know we have a backup, which isn't great because we're in a reportability if we ever have to use it, but it's there to keep us safe. But I guess the thing I'm trying to understand is, do we have any more situations like this that we're currently unaware of that haven't triggered a response? Because we are looking for a vendor who may or may not be able to provide parts or function, which I would like to know, especially going into capital discussions in 2024, if there's any more legacy systems that we really should be looking at.
Through you, Mayor Craig. So the deficiency at Scott's Point isn't actually a municipal deficiency. It's a Bruce Telecom deficiency where their equipment is expired would be the word I'd use, and they're looking at alternatives right now. So we have reached out to BMTS to try to come up with a solution as to what their next steps are. In the interim, we are also looking at a corrective action, which would be the possibility of installing hardware or cellular options up there to trigger when this alarm triggers. That would trigger an alarm to our system as well.
The issue at this point is cellular service in that area, and we are unsure if we'll be able to make this work. But as a department, we are trying to move forward and find a solution for that.
Thank you.
Councillor Stewart, Hinchberger, and Prenger, please.
Thank you very much. And through you, Chair, I think that both of us will be making the same thing. We need to pull 8.1 Delta Echo.
One of us was still on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Which I thought was.
Well,
I think.
actually, no, I was going by the hands that had been raised because Councillor Steinoff Gray and Councillor Stewart had been in the line first, and that was all I was going by. If you have another water compliance question, that's totally.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. It's related to one of the items that Councillor Steinoff Gray brought up, and I can talk to her offline about what maybe we might propose as a specific ask of council. So as I understand it, infrastructure and development is ahead of the curve in using CityWorks as our asset management system. And I can imagine within CityWorks, you've identified all your assets, say using environmental services as an example, probably gone through an exercise of identifying for water and wastewater critical pieces of equipment. I think your specific ask is in the CityWorks program, do we have a preventive maintenance program set up for water and wastewater based on the significance of individual pieces of equipment or components?
Through you, Mayor Craig. So through the CityWorks work order platform, that platform is more designed towards process job completion, I guess. We have reoccurring maintenance work orders within that module or program. So we do things such as diesel generator runs, verifications on our units, verifications on equipment, so they all come up. The group has now implemented, which is covered through the DWQMS as well. It has implemented a operations and maintenance schedule, which is a calendar outside of the CityWorks work order platform. So most staff, or all of our staff, have a login through municipal email that they can access the maintenance calendar. So they would complete or see what needs to be completed through the maintenance calendar. And then the follow-up to that would be that they would fill out CityWorks work orders in the platform to ensure that these are completed. As those are completed, they now go through a checks where the supervisor has to sign off as a final check off on those. And then those are also verified for, I would say, compliance related issues, but also follow-up issues if we're having struggles with things. The asset management portion of your question, Councillor Hinchberger, I think will be better covered through the financial plan that is due by the end of the calendar year. We have already started spending some significant time, not only through the regulation and covering the 6 years that need to be looked at, but we would like to also forecast out for council to look at commitments that are due longer term for projects such as water meters that may creep up on you, but you haven't been setting aside for a rainy day. So we're hoping that a lot of that will be covered through the financial plan that'll be presented this year.
Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you. And through you, we need to pull 8.1 D Delta Echo, Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority update on 2024. Just to help you out, both Councillor Progner and I, when we did the budget for 24, we were under the illusion that we were allowed to charge extra for fees. Let alone it came on December 13th that the Ministry of Natural Resource Forestry decided to hold back the fees. Now, this has a huge expense. Our direction over there was to really do self-generation of our fees and within 2 years cover that whole department with additional fees. Now, we lost about probably $250,000 on revenue that we thought we were anticipating by raising our fees in 24. Well, we have a meeting next week, this Friday, and I just want to pull this letter and maybe give it to our treasurer because we're going to see some increase. And probably Saugeen Valley is going to come back with an increase of maybe quote unquote, maybe anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000 for our municipality. So I just want to pull the letter and sort of explain what's going to happen. Do not know the increase, but it's going to be larger than the 35,000 that we originally had. So I think the letter should be pulled, or at least notification to our treasurer. This will be happening over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Thank you.
So I'm actually requested a meeting with the Conservation Authority GM and spoke with him today. So I understand that he'll be presenting to the Board of Directors, and that board will make a decision, and follow up from that will then update our budget accordingly. So I've given that update to the treasurer as well.
Councillor Pranger, did you have anything besides?
No, Counselor Hinchberger's question and Counselor Stewart's poll have covered mine. Thank you.
All right, we need a mover and a seconder that council approve the recommendations contained in the consent agenda dated January 10, 2024, and direct staff to proceed with all necessary administrative actions, moved by Councillors Blackwell and Deputy Mayor Clark. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Member of Council, general announcements. Councillor Blackwell.
Thank you, through you. I have no announcements for tonight.
Councillor Stewart.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. Should take a moment here. I just wanted to say I was at a Lions meeting, Tiverton Lions meeting last night, and we were presented with the 2023 budget for the Whitney Crawford Center. And good news is that it had a profit of this year of $4,800 that will be returned partly to the municipality and partly to the Lions. But there's a lot of volunteers that make that happen. To have that whole center actually producing a profit is outstanding. So I give the board that manages that a real credit. Thank you very much.
Councillor Pranger.
No announcements today. Thank you.
Councillor Hinchberger.
Nothing to add.
Councillor Kennedy.
Nothing.
Councillor Steinhoff Gray.
Nothing.
Councillor Kavanaugh.
Simply to say Happy New Year. No other announcements.
Deputy Mayor.
No announcements.
CAO, any announcements? Okay. We need a mover and seconder. The council move into closed session pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act as amended for the purpose of considering the minutes dated December 13 and 18, 2023, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, the CAO performance evaluation, labor relations or employee negotiations, application for union certification update, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, disposition of land at 199 Lambton Street, labor relations or employee negotiations, review of municipal reorganization, and further, the council return to regular open meeting upon completion, moved by councillors